want to welcome to you the one and only Andy Summers. Andy, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, and man, I am just thrilled to have you on today. You take me back to a place called Stages in Granite City, Illinois, back in 1980. It was January the 24th, and you guys opened up for the Wamsen Naras. Ticket.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
yeah, Wasmo Naris. Wasmo
Naris, there you
Naris.
go.
That's how we say it. Yes, I do remember it. And I wonder what ever happened to Wasmo. He was working with our manager as well. I liked him a lot, and I thought that he was really good. He was a real unique one-off guy, singer. I wonder what ever happened to him. Wasmo Naris and the something something.
You helped shape one of the most iconic sounds in rock with the Police. You know, how do you reflect on that era now? Do any moments still surprise you when you look back on that?
One of the things that I'm getting today, from a lot of people that, the 80s, musically anyway, let's say, was sort of a golden period. They had so
Yes.
many bands and all that, and it was all sort of new. And it was like, to me, I've often described it as the sort of culmination of the 60s. It all started going in the 60s and it really blossomed in the 80s more than the 70s. 70s is so strange, but the 80s really just was that great period. Oh yeah, the Police. You had so many bands from the UK, had U2, everything sort of started, and then it sort of fizzled a bit. In the 90s, there was a little burst from the Seattle scene in the 90s, but it didn't have that thing that the 80s had. And we just had a show here I live in LA at the Hollywood Bowl, all 80s rock bands. So there's definitely a looking back at the 80s. No, no. I mean, for me, it was obviously I was in the great band and all that, and so of course I look back on it with a lot of affection.
You know, your guitar style was so much different. I mean, it was layered textures, cinematic. Where did that signature sound come from? Where did you get that? How did that evolve through the years for you?
Yeah, well, I was, obviously as a musician, I was involved not only in just learning how to play pop songs, but I got interested in the whole structure of music and harmony and thing. And I finally went to uh, university in Los Angeles and I played classical
Right.
guitar. So I was very pure in my interest. So I grew up, came to, my growth was, but, I started out being a complete sort of jazz wannabe when I was in my teens, Wes Montgomery and Kenny Burrell and people like that. My ear was drawn to that once I got past the sort of initial early stages of simple guitar playing and got into more complex chords and everything. And then I had a period of living in California where I went to college and, played classical guitar. And so that took me into Hollow. By the time I got to the Police, I was, you might say, fully loaded. I had a lot of music and I was playing the electric guitar and I had my Telecaster. Uh, uh, so then I met up with this guy called Sting, and he had a very similar musical background to me. He also played a bit of classical guitar. He was coming out of a jazz rock group called Curve. No, that was Stuart Curve. So, but we were in the punk scene in London, and we had to kind of adapt our rather sophisticated musical taste to be a rock band, be a punk band, and that's sort of where it started. And this became uh, the venue. What's the right word to say? The vessel, should say, because I could play all this stuff, and Sting sort of had this book of material because he was definitely a songwriter that he sort of kept hidden, and then he'd bring out this massive book, and he would look on page 64 and go, "We could try this. This is an old one I wrote," and he would start to bring these things out. But I could play everything back to front. I was a very good guitarist, and suddenly I think what it was saying was that all these possibilities suddenly, well, they became possible. All these things he wouldn't have been doing suddenly were possible to do, and that's kind of how it started. It was, kind of a miraculous meeting where we both had come from sort of more sophisticated backgrounds, but we were in the rock scene and we had to play rock, and then we started to cut our rather sophisticated sensibilities down to being able to do a rock, and that's where the music of the Police and the guitar approach came from.
I have a buddy of mine that plays guitar here in St. Louis. Wanted me to ask you what was going on with the solo in Driven to Tears.
It's a brief solo, but the song's got in the lyric has all this anguish in it, and it seemed to me that the solo shouldn't be just some standard bluesy lick rock solo, but should have these sort of angular uh, notes in it. It should be comprised of something that was more of a shriek rather than the blues. Yet again, like most rock guitarists, and so I literally played flattened fifths and ninths in that solo to give it what I thought was the right atmosphere for the song.
You not only for your music, but you're very well known for your photography. How do those two art forms influence each other for you?
Well, I like the way that you said influence, because that's a subtle thing. How does it? How does it? I don't know if it did or it didn't, but I mean, one has one's sensibility as an artist or whatever. I mean, where it started for me, obviously, I started with piano lessons when I was 6. At 11, I got the guitar and became the complete obsession for the lifetime. And around the teenage years, 14, 15, 16, I started to go to a cinema in my hometown called the Continental, which is almost a joke. And they showed all these European art house films. So I was looking at Truffaut and Fellini and Bergman. My head was obsessed with these black and white art house movies. So I think that's where the photography came from. And as I sort of like jazz and this more sophisticated music, I think those films influenced me hugely, and I saw them all the time. And I'm still watching them. Uh, Now we've got them on DVD or they're on, whatever it is on TV. So these were big artistic and cultural things that influenced my thinking. Absolutely. I don't know exactly how they merged, but if you want to see them merge, you have to come to my show because
Well,
now
I'm looking forward to it. Yes.
well, it's so screamingly logical. Well, I don't know why it took me so long to think of the idea. I've been doing it about 2.5 years now, to combine the photography with the music on stage, which of course it entails a big screen and I'm playing solo to all this stuff. So, it's a nice sort of culmination of these things I've been doing for so many years. And I'm quite pleased about it. The latest little, well, I'm about to go out and do it. I've got, a number of gigs in September around the country, well, including the one you know about. Then I just set up to do a big opening in downtown LA at this marvelous new building that's sort of dedicated to the arts to do the photography and the music. Yeah, so it just keeps going, and obviously I don't do that alone. I have to have technical help, but we've got it all worked out. It's like an entity. So when I say to my guy, okay, we're going to have to, we'll practice a bit before. So literally, in practical terms, I go to my studio and I probably spend 2 days standing in front of it and remembering it all, kind of what I do with it. But it's there. I just have to, pick it up again.
I saw a little snippet of some of the show, and I liked how you add the humor to it too as well.
Yeah.
I,
Well, it's become, obviously I've got I'm the guitar player and I'm playing all these solos. We've got the great images going by, but I also come out and talk quite a lot. And as it's gone on, I've got looser and looser to it. So I said to the manager, I might as well just start doing stand up now. I think we can abandon the rest of it. It'll be a lot
I
simpler.
didn't know you were a comedian, did you?
No, that sort of, well, I always thought I was a pretty funny guy, but now, you stand on stage with a mic and the audience, and you gotta start talking, buddy. You can't be quiet.
Right.
You can't go, oh, I'll play the guitar. See what you got. Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to the show. I had to ask you earlier when you were talking about when you first met Sting and Stuart Copeland. You were about 10 years difference, weren't you?
Yeah, they're older than me. I was just a kid.
How did that play out? Because I mean, were you more experienced at the time when you met them?
Yeah,
As
well, I played a bit longer. I was a very good musician. I got to a pretty sophisticated stage with guitar playing and all that. And Stuart was 22, and he was a fierce guy, fierce on the drums. But he hadn't played that much. Sting was much more parallel to me. He was actually in a jazz rock band. He wasn't playing pop music at all. He'd written these songs that were sort of secretly hidden away, but he was a jazz rock bass player. He was in a band called Last Exit. I just remembered the name finally. So it was sort of likely but unlikely. But as Sting and I got to know one another, we found that we had so much in common. He wasn't really a rocker. He was a sort of jazz guy, and but he had this great voice, and this just gradually emerged. And Stuart was going along with it, watching these other two guys who could talk about chords and harmony all day long to his relentless boredom. And but of course, that was the magical meeting, and together we were able to do all this stuff. It was quite amazing, really.
Well, you've played so many big venues.
Yeah.
What is it about an intimate setting like the Wildey Theater versus the big settings? What is it that you like about
Yeah,
that
they're
venue?
two. Well, obvious. They're just basically physical characteristics. I mean, maybe the show could get bigger, but uh, the sort of smaller, medium-sized boutique theaters it's like you're really going to the movies because it's all about the screen. Obviously, I'm playing, I'm the soundtrack,
Right.
but you're looking at the screen. So if you try and do it in a 20,000 seat stadium, brother, it ain't going to work. And something that's been very nice for me, and I was just talking about this to somebody else, doing this touring, doing this show, I've got to see all these absolutely beautiful theaters all over the US. Gorgeous. I think with the police, we must have just jumped straight past them because I've never seen these places before. Most of them are from the 20s and 30s. They're kind of boutique theaters and they're very nice. Loads of red velvet and gold and all. And they're the right size for me to communicate with the audience instead of like trying to fill a stadium.
I can't wait to see the show. What's one thing a fan has said to you throughout your career that's really stayed with you?
I'll keep practicing.
Nobody has ever told you that.
I know. There's a wide vocabulary of things, some which we can't even talk about on air, so we won't go there. But I think if they came backstage, which is not normal, I don't think they'd come back to like slag me off. They would come with compliments.
Right. Well, you know what? I want to thank you for your time today. I can't wait to see you. You'll be at the Wildey Theater in Edwardsville, and that is, I believe, September 25th, if
That
that's
sounds
correct.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, September
Yeah.
the 25th. But I really appreciate your time, Andy. It's an
Thank you. It was very
honor
nice
and
to
a
talk to
pleasure
you.
for me. And I've got one last question to ask you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The house is on fire. Which guitar are you grabbing?
Yeah. The Telecaster. That's the one I would never part with it because I think it's a sort of a symbol of that whole success. So I'm never going to keep. Yeah, people want to buy it off me. Ain't happening. Yeah.
Andy, thank you so much. I
Okay.
appreciate you. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and
Yeah.
much success on the rest of this tour for you.
Yeah.
And can't wait to see it when you come
Yeah.
to town.
I'll see you there.
All right, brother.
All
Thank
right,
you.
mate. Take care. Thank you.